my friends, welcome back for today's shave. We're continuing our Revolutionary War coverage. Remember I was telling you that history's going to start fast and quick these next few days, and today is one of those days that's like that. See, what's happening is communications, which we kind of take for granted now, that you can send somebody an email or a text and they can have it instantly. But what's happening in the Revolutionary War time is things are happening in February, not getting to regular people until like May, and stuff in the meantime is going. And that's going to be something that we're going to be hearing about more and more as this war gets winding up, starts going. This is the 26th. Yeah, 26th of May. And today we're observing Memorial Day, which I did a separate reading today of the general orders that set that up back in 1863. So that's just something we're observing today. But today in history in 1775, we're dealing with the Second Continental Congress receiving a letter from Parliament on a conciliatory resolution. So Great Britain's or England's Parliament, I think they're kind of sort of seeing what's going on. So they said, okay. And remember, if you remember your history lessons, that the colonists were getting pretty upset about being taxed without having any input on that. Taxation without representation, remember? Well, what the conciliatory resolution from Parliament did, said, okay, you guys in the colonies, you can tax yourself if you say that you're loyal to the crown. Well, by this time, and what happened was Parliament made that in February, sent it to the colonies, and the Second Continental Congress got it today, 26th of May. And that's after Lexington and Concord had taken place. They had already, war has already broken out. There's already been shots fired. So, in a move that's going to kind of seal the resolve of Congress and which direction we're heading, that act or that resolution from Parliament is rejected. No, you've already gone too far. Already started spilling blood. We are going to continue in this direction and be in active revolt against the crown. So today kind of sealed things. There was another act, the olive branch, as it were, extended. I have some notes here. Let me see. I don't see it. Well, okay. What else is happening? What's neat? At the same time, you're aware the colonists are saying no. Blood's already been spilled. Things are in motion. At the same time, way to the west, out in Missouri, there's another battle. There's the First Battle of St. Louis, where English or British led attacks way back on the Western Front in St. Louis that you don't hear much about. But there's battles taking place, active war. And there's a big siege taking place. Remember the cities, like say Boston and New York, which are pretty big cities now, right? Well, in those days they were way smaller. So like Boston's on a little peninsula, right? And the Revolutionary Forces, there's not a Continental Army yet, remember that's coming. These colonists are blockading Boston. And so they're not letting materials from the land get into British-occupied Boston, choking them off from meat and vegetables, produce, you know, all the stuff that you would get from a land-based source, forcing the English in Boston, because they had free use of the port there in Boston, so they're getting supplies from England, but you know, it takes weeks to get stuff. So they're getting hard goods, very preserved, but nothing fresh, nothing good. So the pieces are falling into place where you've got the war effort is starting to coalesce, and it's going to be pretty ugly in the coming months. So be watching for more stuff happening in the meantime. In the meantime, while this is happening here, this is happening there, this is where there's super interesting stuff happening. I'm learning all kinds of neat stuff as I'm looking at history books of what's happening today in history. I do just a Google search, says what happened today, 26 May 1775. And Google comes up with all kinds of facts that I either knew and forgot or didn't know it at all. Things that were going on in the colonies. I'm finding it super interesting. I recommend, highly recommend that. It's something really interesting that you can use these tools for and not do things like I'm doing. Make her a picture of me if I were a Union officer. I make a picture of me shaving like I look like George Washington. You've been seeing those as thumbnails, and that's neat stuff that you can do with AI, but also makes a neat tool for researching and finding out neat stuff happening in history. So that's something that I recommend you do. If you find anything else interesting, put it in the comments. I read these things, and we might include it into more videos coming forward. I'm Major Rich. You'll find me at theshavingcadre.com, or you might be finding me on my YouTube channel, Safety Cat Studios. If you've made it this far, appreciate you watching. Leave a like, it helps the channel. Subscribe if you're so inclined, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.